The idea, of course, is get there as quick as you can at the highest speed. So I'm going to give you 2 marks down here. The first one on the wall says it's advanced auto. That's 1,000 feet. The second is where the tower is. That's a 1/4 mile. And from the tower to the very end of the drag strip is 3/4 of a mile. That's longer than any other drag strip in the country. And they built it that way for a reason. They knew those speeds were getting higher and higher all the time. And for safety, they wanted those guys to be able to shut it down, put the parachutes out, get stopped before they get to the very end of the drag strip. Because those speeds were getting so high that they needed all that space to be able to do that in. If they do have a problem, they end up in the gravel pit. You don't want to do that. The gravel pit will destroy your car. The gravel pit goes out 100 feet to the first catch fence. 25 feet behind that is the higher catch fence in case you clear the first one. And then behind that, they call them water barrels. There's actually sand in them. There's no water in them. But in 13 years of racing, we've never had a car touch the first fence. And that's all because of that 3/4 of a mile. That's a long ways to be able to shut it down. Plenty of time to be able to shut the car down and get her stopped. So the gravel pit is a little deceiving. Typically it's pretty flat out there, but it's 18 inches deep, and if you drive out there with a car, you'll sink right down to the axle. It's designed to do that. And just to prove that point, about 7 months ago, we had a guy sneak in here on a Sunday afternoon, decided to make a run down the drag strip. We still don't know how he got in, but ran down the drag strip. He thought he did such a good job, he was going to turn around out there in the gravel and go out and do it again. And he sank. So the guards happened to catch him on camera, and they said, you know, we need to go talk to this guy. So to teach him a lesson, they figured they'd wait 2 hours to come and get him because they knew he wasn't going anywhere. So after 2 hours, they came out and talked to him, and the guy was still being a little upset about the whole thing, but you know what? It was his fault. And they said, well, it looks like you need a tow truck to get you out. And the guy said, yeah, I could sure use one. He says, well, we can call one for you. Let me go back to the office, and I'll call you a tow truck. So the guard thought, well, he needs a little bit more of a lesson, so he waited 2 more hours before he called an outside service. And, you know, we have 20 tow trucks on the property. But he didn't do that. He called an outside service, and they actually waited another hour before they got here. So what they're setting up out there is for SCCA, Sportsman Series. Will run road courses out there in the parking lot, and they test out there and do that on the weekends.
That's what Mr. Mike does.
They're going to be racing over on the main track today, and they're going to be racing on this as well. So I want to show you why I gave you those 2 marks. The blue tower is the 1/4 mile. That has always been the standard in drag racing ever since drag racing started. And the black mark on the wall is a physical 1/4 mile measured mark. That's where they measure it to. But 9 years ago, the teams got together with NHRA and they made a request. Could we shorten the races? The reason they wanted to shorten them is because no other drag strip in the country has that long of a shutdown. They all are a lot less than that, and cars were getting into trouble even at a good run at the 1/4 mile mark. So they wanted to shorten them to 1,000 feet. That's what this black mark is. So now all top fuel dragsters, funny cars, only go to the 1,000 foot mark. But if you look at the distance from the beginning to here, that's not very far. Lane number 3, Spencer Massey, 8 years ago, laid down a world record 332 miles an hour in 3.8 seconds to that point right there. That's more G-forces than shuttle astronauts feel when they lift off. Now, remember me telling you about John Force. You know he has 2 daughters that race, Courtney Force and Brittany Force. Well, Courtney, about last April, when we had our big 4-wide nationals here, broke that 332 mark. She went 334 in her run. And her sister, the same weekend, broke the other side of the mark. She did her run in 3.6 seconds. So now they own the new track record here. But the sad part about that is Courtney's decided to hang it up. She's not going to race anymore. She decided about 4 or 5 months ago that she was going to, she wanted to spend more time with family and friends. And guess where she's at every weekend? At the racetrack. Well, Dad has turned 70 and he's still racing. In fact, he just won a big race here a couple of weeks ago. So it's all about getting out there and having enjoyment and do the fun things that you like to do. So the next place I want to take you to is our dirt track. Now the dirt track is going to be used tomorrow night we have a special thing coming out here, and that is our Monster Truck Series. This dirt track is about 27 years old. Average 9 races a year. This year we're actually going to have 10. We added another race this year, but it's AMA flat track racing with motorcycles, global rallycross, monster trucks, off-road competitions, World of Outlaws,